Talk about LeBron James, who last summer made what some are considering purely a business decision, leaving Cleveland, heading to the Lakers. As of today, Windy has a new book. It is in stores. It is called LeBron Inc., and it chronicles the making of a billion-dollar athlete, and it is all about LeBron, and it is all about the business side of this. And it's fascinating, Windy, because the Lakers season comes to an end tonight. Of course, for LeBron, it ended some time ago as they shut him down. But they have their last game tonight. So where does the rest of the Lakers' lives begin starting today?
Their offseason starts, really their offseason's already started, but it functionally will begin as soon as they're done tonight with the Portland Trail Blazers. They got to make a choice on Luke Walton, which I feel confident that they've already made, that they're going to move on. And then once they get their new coach in place, which is not a minor thing, they have got to retrofit this roster. And they've got to do it through the draft. They've got a very important draft pick to make, whether they move up or not. And then they have to do a very delicate balance in free agency, which is how long do we wait for players? And how long do we move on and get second-tier guys while knowing that LeBron James expects you to build a championship contender?
The top 4 free agents this year, all names just happen to begin with K. I don't think any of them are going to the Lakers. KD, Kawhi, Kyrie, and Klay. So then you go to the secondary free agents, as Wendy just mentioned, possibly Jimmy Butler, possibly DeMarcus Cousins. The unique thing is, of course, they won Anthony Davis. The problem is he doesn't control his own destiny. And I don't think the Pelicans are going to deal with the Lakers. And also, the package that they were offering, you can't necessarily offer that package now because Ball's coming off an injury. You got to see what's happening with Brandon Ingram's health based on his blood clot situation. So their scenario is going to be in flux. But I do believe Tyronn Lue is going to be their next coach.
And I believe that it's not going to matter. To be honest with you, because I don't see them making this changing this roster enough to compete in the West. I mean, you just listed all the guys they're not going to get. So we're no on the top 4. To build this team into a contention, even if you get a good pick in the lottery, all right, then probably not going to get number 1. That'd be crazy if they got number 1. But say they got number 4. At number 4, we're talking about DeAndre Hunter. Very good player, but is he a game changer for the Lakers in this year's draft?
Is he someone that all of a sudden the Pelicans are more interested in making an Anthony Davis trade because he's in it? If it's not Zion, are they interested?
The Lakers cannot execute a trade if the Celtics make the best offer.
Yep.
If the Celtics don't make the best offer, the Lakers and some other teams come into it. But really, again, they're waiting in line. Just like for free agents, they're waiting in line.
All right, we'll have more on this as we go in again. Wendy's book is available in stores today. You should run out and pick it up. Another superstar very much in the news, and that one is Aaron Rodgers. And Wendy, you know, as we sort of look at all of these teams that are getting ready to play in the playoffs and everything, you coined what I think is a very interesting phrase in our pre-show meeting today. You're calling this the playoffs of anxiety.
Yes.
Can you explain for our friend Mr. Rose why these are that?
I've never seen a playoff situation like this where you have the standard, boy, we're playing for a championship and all the pressure of playoff series, et cetera, and then the layer that goes on top of it where these results this year mean so much to the future. I've written a column that's going to come out tomorrow about this. If you look at the Warriors, for example, they're trying to win a three-peat. They're trying to put together a historic run here, but they also have uncertainty with arguably their best player, Kevin Durant. Does winning mean that he will stay, or does winning mean that he will go? And then if you're a Knicks fan, are you rooting for the Warriors to win because you think that may clear the decks for Durant to leave and come to you? Or do you root for them to lose to try to drive him out? That's a very bizarre situation. Then you come to the Eastern Conference. All 4 of the top teams, Philly, Boston, Toronto, Milwaukee, all loaded with free agents. What does Kyrie Irving do if there's an early exit? What does Kawhi Leonard do if there's an early exit? Philadelphia has 3 of their 5 starters as a free agent. Milwaukee, Giannis is under contract, but they have 3 or 4 key free agents. Will this team sign and go into the luxury tax? And 2 of those 4 teams are getting eliminated in the second round. This is going to be a very interesting, delicate next couple of months.
Because depending on how you slice it, right, there's a lot of things that remain. Like a third of the league will be a free agent at the end of the season.
35 to 40%.
35% to 40% of the league will be free agents. So what do you make of this? All of the anxiety and all of the attention surrounding all these teams in the East and, of course, Golden State out West.
Here's what makes free agency unique this summer. All of the top guys have already won championships. Usually when somebody goes into free agency, it's to find a better situation and in hopes to pursue one. Well, all of these guys have already done it. KD, Kawhi, Kyrie, and Klay. So they're not necessarily picking destinations for that. A lot of these guys seem to be picking destinations for their happiness and things that come with the game of basketball because they were already accomplished.
Like what? I mean, what if winning is not the primary concern? I don't mean this critically. I'm just asking, like, what is Kawhi Leonard looking for?
Just think about it like this. For a guy like Kawhi Leonard, he said it. A long run can help Toronto retain him versus getting bounced in the first round. Like if Toronto makes it to their first NBA Finals as somebody that played for that team, their fan base is amazing. Now all of a sudden you can't just walk away from that. But if you lose in the first round and you play bad, that makes it easier for you to leave.
If anybody out there knows what Kawhi, Kyrie, or Kevin is thinking, you will be bid on by multiple NBA teams. If you know, make yourself available, because I think that's one of the biggest uncertainties out there.
It's fascinating to me, and we talked about this yesterday, that when the big three came together in Miami, all those years later, with LeBron and D-Wade and Chris Bosh, it turned out that they had all decided that well in advance. But what you're telling us is you think what happens in this postseason will actually go a long way towards dictating what these guys decide to do.
And it's not as simple as just who wins. There's all kinds of other shades of gray in it. And as Jalen said, because these guys have rings, it does come down to happiness. But again, look at the way Kyrie Irving behaves and tell me what makes him happy. I don't know the answer. Kevin Durant is a two-time defending finals MVP and has exuded unhappiness for months. What do you do? I agree, they are choosing happiness. Tell me what happiness is. Is it right there? Is that happiness right there? I don't know. And that's what we're going to find out. That's why it's so interesting.
What do you think of this?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the most intriguing off seasons that we've seen. And this is where the NBA has gotten it. They have stolen the month of July away from training camps in the NFL, with free agency hitting immediately on July 1st. And when you look at this, I think personally, if Kevin Durant and the Warriors win, is a better likelihood, more of a likelihood that he leaves Golden State than stays at Golden State.
Which is a crazy statement. I just want to point out that you would have a three-peat and you wouldn't just walk away.
Because you're on the best team in the league. You're making as much money as a person could ever possibly ask for. You figure to be the best team in the league for an uncontrollable amount of time going forward, but I agree with you.
But it's the emotional aspect of what we've seen throughout the course of not just this season with KD, the burner accounts and all these other things that people talk about. They're looking and searching for something else. And maybe for KD, you get three rings, and the next thing you say is, you know what? I've done it, but I've done it on Steph Curry's team, and I want to do it on my own team.
Correct. You brought up the word emotion, and that's exactly where I wanted to go, Bud, because for KD, we've seen him win a couple of championships and seem to be miserable in doing it. For Kyrie, he joined a better squad from the Cavs to Boston, seems to be miserable doing it. So now for both of those guys who have seemed to got so very close throughout this year, it's only seemed right that they now team up, that they can show the world that they can actually get it accomplished together.
They are the playoffs of anxiety. They begin shortly. Don't forget, Wendy's book is available right now, LeBron Inc. We'll take a break.
Just buy the book.
More to do, and First Take is on the way coming up this morning as well. Right, our team's going to join us shortly. But The Athletic recently conducted a poll among current NBA players about the most important topics and discussions in the league right now. It included the headline awards, like who is the MVP? And in that question, which Brian Windhorst voted yesterday live on our show for Giannis Antetokounmpo, the players voted for James Harden, with Giannis right behind him and Paul George third. I didn't want to focus on this because, look, this one is a toss-up anyway. I don't think anyone is going to be outraged regardless of which of those two guys win it. There were some secondary questions that I thought were much more interesting. When the players were asked who is the most overrated player in the NBA, there was a tie between Draymond Green and Russell Westbrook. That's the one I want to bring to the table. Wendy, you made an interesting observation when I showed that to you earlier today about Draymond.
Well, Draymond believes he's one of the most underrated players in the league, and he thinks he's one of the most underpaid players, too. So that one probably hit him pretty hard.
What do you think, Jalen? Is Draymond Green overrated or underrated?
Draymond Green is underrated. I've been watching Draymond Green since he was in high school. For those that don't know, he's from Saginaw, Michigan. He was a champion then. He overachieved at the university, at Michigan State University. He played there 4 years. And if you look back at his footage, he's changed his diet and he changed his approach and improved his jump shot. He was a second-round pick.
Yeah. Yep.
Now he's a 3-time All-Star and a 3-time champion and a starter on the best team in basketball.
Yes, but for how long? Because it does bring up an interesting question. Depending on how this postseason shakes out, what do you think Draymond's immediate future, Brian Windhorst, might look like?
Well, Draymond has pretty much yelled from the rooftops that he wants a contract extension this summer, which he is eligible for, and he wants a big one because he feels he is underpaid from his last contract. that happened before the cap spike. The question is, with his body breaking down a little bit, and frankly, this last season and a half, his numbers have decreased as well. Will the Warriors be willing to give him the contract he wants? This is going to be a battle. We know because Draymond has switched agents and hired Rich Paul of Clutch Sports to go to battle for him. And the question is, if Kevin Durant leaves, will the Warriors retrofit their roster around the Splash Brothers and look to trade Draymond Green? Somewhere secretly in a drawer or in a locked file, there's a list of trade opportunities that the Warriors have come up with for Draymond Green because they are preparing for this moment.
And the primary person the Warriors might be trying to get in a trade, their dream scenario if they lose KD is?
They will call the Pelicans and make an offer for Anthony Davis. Now, the big thing about Anthony Davis is what happens with the Celtics. If Kyrie walks, do the Celtics make the premium offer? Because the Celtics can outbid the Warriors. They can outbid the Lakers. But if the Celtics don't make a premium offer, which frankly is possible if Kyrie walks, it brings in a whole lot of other scenarios. But any team that would trade for Draymond Green would inherit the exact same issue that the Warriors are facing. He wants to be paid a huge extension this summer.
Okay, but how much of his numbers do we credit to the fact that KD is there and that there's just not enough basketball to go around to maintain the numbers that he at one point in time had with his roster?
It's a legitimate question. The other question is, he is in such a perfect spot. Look, I respect Draymond like crazy. I agree with you. I watch the Big Ten every single night. He has made himself into a really good NBA player. But he's also in the perfect circumstance for what he does. What do you think of that? Next year, the Warriors could be no KD, no Draymond, no Boogie, and add Anthony Davis. Does that feel like a possibility to you?
It doesn't. The Anthony Davis part doesn't seem like a possibility for me. I agree that in their starting five, I believe only the Splash Brothers will be returning next year. But when I look at that overrated list, a couple of things kind of stood out to me. One, Draymond and Russell are both abrasive, aggressive players. And so that's going to always rub guys the wrong way in a league where everybody seems to be friendly toward one another.
So this is personal, you think? These are guys taking little personal digs.
And if you looked at 3, 4, 5 in no particular order, those guys were on the same team starting this year. Jimmy Butler, Wiggins, and Towns. They were all on the same team.
They probably all voted for each other.
How about that? How about that?
But how is Russell Westbrook legitimately on that list? I think he's the most underappreciated player. What he's been able to do, 3 consecutive seasons of averaging a triple-double. We've never seen this before, really. And yet we sit there and nobody talks about him at all, and we say he's stat hunting or he's this. Look, Paul George and the benefit of what Paul George has done this year, some of that is to Russell Westbrook.
Sean, you know this, playing at UCLA men's gym for years. I played out there for 15 years. You was there. Russell was there. I remember when they made it to the NBA Finals. I walked down to the court and gave Russell a hug and apologized for the way that the media was assassinating this man's character and talking about his game. Since then, he's become an MVP. He's overcome KD leaving. Paul George has stayed. Billy Donovan is still the coach. He's averaged triple-doubles for 3 straight years. He's become one of the best players in the game.
I have to break because Tony Bennett is coming out. We'll take a very short timeout, but after engineering the greatest bounce back in things that we want to bring you this morning, let us talk about that man. Because LeBron James' Lakers season comes to an end tonight. Now, LeBron's season, as we know, came to an end some time ago, but the Lakers season will come to an end tonight. And our Brian Windhorst, who's with us this morning, has a new book. It is available as of today. It is called LeBron Inc., so go out and pick it up right now.
Congratulations, Wendy.
And there's been so much talk, Wendy, about this. So the Lakers season comes to an end tonight, and thus LeBron's first season officially comes to an end tonight. How do you put it in perspective, from a book perspective, however we look at it, what this year was for LeBron James?
Well, when LeBron came to LA, it wasn't wholeheartedly a basketball decision. He also knew that they were going to have to build this team, and he thought that the building of the team was going to start last summer. But it was a false start. And here we are a season later, and they're really not any closer. And frankly, they don't have a clear path to making this team a lot better. The free agents that they're going to go after, they are at best the second choice for all the top-tier free agents. Doesn't mean that those guys' first choices won't, materialize and they won't go to the Lakers, but they are hoping for lottery luck or free agent luck elsewhere to help them out.
Well, their offseason begins officially tonight, and you were telling us in the meeting the first decision they need to make, they could make as soon as tomorrow.
I would expect that they have a decision on Luke Walton already made, that they will hopefully inform him tomorrow so that he can get on with his life. He will, I believe, get another job at some point relatively soon. and that they can move on with their coaching search. Quite frankly, there are guys lining up trying to interview for this job, and I think they need to get the process going because they have major moves they have to do to their roster. They need to move on from coach.
Their approach to this offseason, I agree with you, is going to include second-tier free agents. The 4 Ks, as I'm calling them, KD, Kawhi, Kyrie, and Klay. I think none of those guys end up with the Los Angeles Lakers. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Boogie Cousins. He's going to be a wild card. He can't necessarily get a big deal with the Golden State Warriors. Jimmy Butler, I think he's going to find a way out of Philadelphia and probably is going to end up in a large market, either New York or Los Angeles. So those are the 2 guys I'm kind of looking for to see if they can join LeBron in L.A.
And I think coaching obviously is one of the most important cogs, and I agree with you, trying to set the table early. The names you hear in Los Angeles obviously is Jay Kidd, you hear Ty Lue, maybe even Mark Jackson. Out of those coaches, which ones would be most appealing to some of those free agents that Jalen's talking about?
I think you have to get an experienced coach here. Even though I think there's a guy like Darvin Ham or a guy like Juwan Howard who could do a good job as an NBA head coach, with a 34-year-old LeBron James turning 35, managing the expectations, I think they need an experienced coach, which is why I think Ty Lue's name, championship coach, experience with LeBron, rises to the front of their list.
I think Ty Lue ends up with the job ultimately.
Yeah. We'll see. One other thing I wanted you to mention to the audience, because you said this to me earlier today, and it had never really crystallized my mind this way. A lot of people are criticizing LeBron and saying that the decision to go to L.A. was not a basketball one. You made the point, the decision to go back to Cleveland the second time, maybe also not purely basketball.
Although he was going to a really good team.
Right.
A better team. And the one thing he did in Cleveland that he couldn't do in L.A., he convinced somebody to come with him. He picked up the phone and got Kevin Love to get forced to trade to Cleveland. But yes, there's no doubt his media business and his future played a role in his decision to go to Los Angeles. But that shouldn't necessarily be a sin against him. When he came to Cleveland, it was a family decision in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it was a family and a redemption decision.
Absolutely.
We're talking a lot about redemption this morning. That's what that was for LeBron. The real question is, are they coming back with basically the same cast of characters and a new coach next year? Because if the answer to that is yes, this thing could take a really ugly turn. Much more on this as we go. But there's huge football news.